Hello friends and hello dear doctors. I am Dr. Pradeep Davi, consultant pulmonologist and critical care specialist at SIMS Hospital, Ahmedabad. As we all know, we are going through a very tough time in a lockdown period in this COVID-19 pandemic area. And this is very critical time for to manage everything, and for healthcare association we have a very difficult time to manage our patient in day-to-day OPD as well as to manage an indoor patients. So today I'm going to discuss about how do I manage pneumonia in this COVID-19 era. To simplify this talk, I will be speaking on under this heading. I'll just speak on prevalence of pneumonia and COVID-19 pneumonia, definition and classifications of various types of pneumonia. I will restrict my talk to only community acquired pneumonia because to cover up the hospital acquired ventilator associated pneumonia is difficult. Then clinical presentation, their risk stratification, investigations, followed by their management in short, a few words on COVID-19 pneumonia, and one interesting case in this lockdown period. So thank you for listening me. Just we'll go ahead and see how we'll make pneumonia in very simple way. So as we all know, there is a lots of confusion regards to pneumonia in classification, and there are many number of guidelines. As we all follow Indian Chest Society guideline, then we have American Thoracic Society guideline, British Thoracic Society guideline, NICE guideline. Every guideline is have some different opinion. So we are just make this talk very simplified. So as we all know, this is the data from the WHO. You can see the death rate, the mortality of pneumonia from 1990 to 2017. The pneumonia was very big problem in a children under age of 14 years. But if you see the mortality, it is going down and down because of vaccination. But the mortality is going to be increased in especially in elderly population above the age of 70. According to this study, CDC guideline, and the study from the China, Wuhan city, as you all know, so far majority of countries have infected with SARS coronavirus 2. And various statistics showed 40% of total case of coronavirus developed pneumonia. Out of that 40%, 15% required ICU care. And amongst the ICU admission, 50% have mortality. So my humble request to all of you guys to suspect COVID-19 infection in current scenario in all pneumonia patient and all SARI patient, that means in severe acute respiratory infection patient, please suspect COVID-19 infection in all pneumonia patient. This is the word of ICMR guideline. So what is pneumonia? It's basically involved the parenchyma of the lung. So it's affect at the level of alveoli where inflammation going to happen, and alveolar I filled with exudates. So that is a basic mechanism behind the pneumonia. So how will we classify the pneumonia? As we all know, there are lots of confusion. Some are say some etiological classification, pathological, clinical, anatomical. So etiological we have bacterial, viral, fungal, aspiration, parasitic. Pathologically we have 4 stages like stage of congestion, red hepatization, gray hepatization, stage of resolution. Based on their clinical presentation, some pneumonia can present typically, some may atypical. We have radiologically lobar, broncho and interstitial pneumonias. But important to us is treatment-based classification. That's what all guidelines suggested. That is community acquired pneumonia, hospital acquired pneumonia, and ventilator associated pneumonia and healthcare associated pneumonia. These are classified on the base to start an early treatment empirically, because in pneumonia, if we start the treatment early, the response to the treatment is very good. And you cannot wait till the culture report because it will take at least 2 to 3 days to come. So to start early treatment, they will divided into this classification. So now I'm going to talk on community acquired pneumonia. So what is community acquired pneumonia? It is very simple. If you have an X-ray, and if you don't have X-ray, the definition is different. So without X-ray, you have a symptoms of acute lower respiratory infection like cough with sputum production, shortness of breath, pleuritic chest pain for a less than 1 week duration with some systemic features of fever, high grade, new onset signs on examination on the respiratory system like bronchial breathing sound, dullness on percussion, crackles, and altogether no other explanation for that illness. And if you have an X-ray available, above symptoms plus new shadow on X-ray for which there is no alternative explanation like pulmonary edema or infarction. So this is the definition suggested by ICS and BTS guidelines. If you look at the etiology of CAP, this is the study done so far. You can see the 50% of this study, they have isolated the pathogen causing the pneumonia. It is very difficult to isolate, and they have suggested that Streptococcus pneumoniae is the far most common organism causing pneumonia worldwide, even in our country also. But the interesting is, look at this. This is the viral pneumonia. It is the second most that can cause the pneumonia etiologically. So what are the clinical features? How patient presented with? So it's a clinical definition what I have told, but certain specific syndrome associated with some pathogens like Mycoplasma and Legionella, that patient can present with hemolysis, some altered liver function test, and they have a very atypical presentation of low grade fever and dry cough. And elderly populations, they are presented with low amount of symptoms. So how will you evaluate? Apart from presentation, evaluation, there are certain investigation is must for all pneumonia patient. The first and foremost I recommend is COVID-19 testing in current era. So you have to take nasopharyngeal and oropharyngeal swab for RT-PCR in all pneumonia patient, whether it is community acquired or hospital acquired, whatever is. Second investigation is chest X-ray to see the what amount of lung involvement and to monitor the patient. And third and most common is pulse oximetry, because based on oxygen level we can choose the therapy, whether to admit the patient, whether when to admit. So these three investigation is most in current era. Other investigations like CBC, LFT, RFT and electrolyte in all patient, sputum analysis and biomarkers. So these are the investigation. Now we'll see each investigation in detail. See, if you see the chest X-ray, we have a definite 5 pattern on the X-ray. If you have lobar consolidation, then Streptococcus pneumoniae is the etiological agent. If you have bronchopneumonia like pattern, it's because of Mycoplasma, virus, Chlamydia, Legionella. If you have interstitial pattern, this is very common in currently COVID-19, even influenza, cytomegalovirus, miliary TB. If patient will develop a complication like lung abscess, the causative organism is Staph aureus and anaerobic infection. Nodular pattern is very common in fungal infection. And if you have bulging fissure sign, this is typical of Klebsiella pneumonia. And if patient will develop a pneumonic effusion, the causative organism is Streptococcus and anaerobic infection and Klebsiella. So based on X-ray, you can judge or you can have some idea which organism is causing the problem. Another important finding for X-ray is, if patient is clinically improved, no need to repeat the X-ray. X-ray repetition is required only when you have a persistence of symptoms or signs, or in whom you are suspecting some alternative diagnosis like malignancy. Otherwise, no need to repeat a chest X-ray. Another question arises when the radiological abnormality will resolve. So you all have to aware that clinical findings is improving faster than compared to radiological findings, and it will take at least 12 weeks for complete resolution on X-ray. But if you have a 6 weeks no resolution or static shadow and patient symptoms are persistent, then it should require an alternative diagnosis to thought of in the form of vasculitis, malignancy or organizing pneumonia. So based on X-ray, you have to be very careful. CT chest is not routinely recommended for all patients of pneumonia except the non-resolution of the opacity, or you suspect some complication like empyema or pleural effusion, then at that time CTs can help. Blood cultures is routinely required in all hospitalized patients because the yield is 5 to 33% and it is very specific, and certain bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae, GNBs, that can cause even bacteremia also. So it can clinches the diagnosis. Sputum primary stain and culture is not required for OPD based patient. It's already required in all indoor patient. So you have to give good quality sputum is very important. And AFB smear in our country is required in according to RNTCP guideline for who they are not responding to our primary treatment. Other investigations like pneumococcal urinary antigen and Legionella urinary antigen are desirable only in severe community-acquired pneumonia. PCR-based test for atypical and viral pneumonia, say H1N1 pneumonia, is not routinely recommended. But if you have an endemic or epidemic of such a kind of pneumonia in your specific area, then it is recommended. Biomarkers like CRP and PCT, they are also not routinely recommended, but they are meant for monitoring the patient, and especially procalcitonin have a role to differentiate between whether you are dealing with viral or bacterial pneumonia, because in bacterial pneumonia it is elevated high, and in viral pneumonia it may be a low normal. Bronchoscopy, be aware, it's a highly aerosol generating procedure, so avoid in current scenario. Please don't do the bronchoscopy in routinely pneumonia patient, but it does have a role in VAP and severe CAP patient to identify the pathogen, sometimes for the removal of mucus plug. If you suspect an endobronchial abnormality like foreign body, stricture, malignancy, then also it's recommended. And to rule out some alternative diagnosis, the bronchoscopy can help. So this how we have investigated the patient. We send all investigations. Now this is very important to risk stratification of this patient. We have couple of score according to the couple of guidelines, but the most important is this curve 65, CRB 65 and ATS major and minor criteria. Why? Is to what level of patient required a care, because it predicts mortality, is assisting where to put a patient, to treat on OPD base, to put on a ward or required ICU care, and to choose antibiotic empiric therapy. And you can even prognosticate, and you can counsel the relative and patient's family also regarding pneumonia. So this is the very important chart. So once you have pneumonia patient, you just calculate your CRB 65 score. If it's less than 1 and saturation is okay, you can manage patient on OPD base. It's a low risk category. If it's more than 1, and then you have to admit the patient in a hospital, do an X-ray, send a sputum for gram stain and culture. You start empiric antibiotic and decide whether you require ICU or non-ICU care. That depends on this criteria. If the patient is having requirement of invasive ventilation, or the patient is in septic shock, he must be in ICU care, or out of these 7 minor criteria of 3 or more is required, then he must be in the ICU care. So CAPE can be low risk, moderate risk and high risk, level of care, and then level of antibiotics. So if patient is low risk category, you can just start on oral macrolide with in a patient without comorbidities. The choice is azithromycin or erythromycin. If patient have some comorbidities like underlying COPD, asthma, heart disease, kidney disease, liver disease, age more than 65, or patient is immunocompromised, then you have to give a combination of antibiotic in the form beta-lactam and macrolide. Duration of antibiotic is 5 days. Please don't give fluoroquinolone, because this drug is reserved in our country for drug-resistant tuberculosis. So fluoroquinolone should not be used in empiric treatment of any of this pneumonia patient, except it's a dire emergency. Similarly, patient is admitted in a moderate risk in a ward with a cup scope more than 1, then you have to give a combination of beta-lactam and macrolide. The preferred is ceftriaxone or amoxicillin and clavulanic acid. Duration is 5 to 7 days. And fluoroquinolone, if you want to use, tuberculosis should be ruled out, and in case of hypersensitivity to beta-lactam antibiotics. If patient is in ICU setting, again you have to use same antibiotic, but provided there is no risk factor for Pseudomonas and MRSA, then you have to start anti-pseudomonal antibiotics, or for MRSA you have to give another antibiotics. If patient does not respond quickly within 2 to 3 days, then you have to evaluate them very rigorously to find out the cause, whether the patient develops some complications of pneumonia, any atypical pathogen you are dealing with, or drug-resistant pathogen. And antimicrobial therapy should be changed according to the specific pathogen isolated. And adjuvant therapy, steroids are not routinely recommended in all severe CAPE except in non-severe CAPE. Steroids are reserved only for ARDS or for septic shock secondary to pneumonia. And ARDS or septic shock should be managed according to the other guideline like survival sepsis guideline in pneumonia patients. So this is all about community acquired pneumonia in short. Now we are moving on COVID pneumonia. COVID pneumonia is usually caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. You can see patient presented with cough is the most common, fever is the most common symptom, followed by cough and breathlessness. URI symptoms in 15% of patient and GI symptoms in 10% of patient. Thus, there are a spectrum of disease SARS-CoV-2 infection cause. It's lasts from uncomplicated illness. Patient may develop mild pneumonia, some develop severe pneumonia, and ARDS, septic shock, capillary leak syndrome, cytokine storm leading to a multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, and finally death. So it's a spectrum of disease that COVID pneumonia can cause. This is a very good study published recently in ERS journal. You can see they have compared the COVID pneumonia and non-COVID pneumonia by clinical features and their radiological abnormality. What they suggested is the COVID-19 infection, the CT finding is very reliable screening tool because they have a differentiation points, and LDH may be considerable marker for evaluation of COVID pneumonia. So what they found is the symptoms is almost both the side common, but you can see the CT finding. The unilateral finding is more common in non-COVID, while bilateral pneumonia is more common in COVID pneumonia. Multiple ground glass opacities is common in COVID pneumonia, is less common in non-COVID pneumonia. So this is the typical CT features. You can see subpleural peripheral area of ground glassing and consolidation is common in COVID pneumonia. So if a patient is hypoxic with COVID pneumonia, how will you manage? This is if it is indicated to do endotracheal intubation, please go ahead and do with the rapid sequences, endotracheal intubation, expert in airway to intubate, use proper PPE, and minimize staff in the room while we are intubating, and if available use video laryngoscope to make the procedure very fast. If patient is not a candidate for intubation, give him a supplemental oxygen. If patient is still hypoxic, you can use an HFA, high flow nasal cannula oxygen. Target saturation is 92 to 96, and do not delay or wait for intubation. So this is how you manage the patient with COVID pneumonia with hypoxia. This is the recent guideline published by AIIMS New Delhi in 18th of April 2020. I think everybody who is managing COVID patient, you should go. This is very simplified and very important how to manage COVID pneumonia and COVID ARDS patient. Then according to this, if you have an ARDS patient, they are categorized into mild, moderate to severe, and adjuvant therapy. If mild, it's you start with low tidal volume strategy. Target saturation is 92 to 96. Conservative fluid therapy. Empiric antibiotics should be given in all ARDS patients to prevent secondary complications. Steroid have a role only in a moderate to severe ARDS. The dose of the steroid is 1 to 2 milligram per kg of methylprednisolone, and duration is maximum 5 days, not more than that. Prone positioning is very important, and some other adjuvant therapies like antiviral, chloroquine, anti-IL-6, they are all not strongly recommended, but in a group of patients they are tried, and there are no still RCTs available to give which antiviral and when to give. And in refractory hypoxia, you should give a trial of ECMO also. Now one last important case. It's a 70-year female patient, known case of lots of comorbidity, diabetes, hypertension, CAD, post-CABG status, and osteoporosis, presented on lockdown period a couple of weeks ago with high-grade fever, cough with minimal sputum, progressive dyspnea, and duration of illness was 3 days. She doesn't have contact history of confirmed COVID-19 patient and no travel history to domestic or international flight, and she doesn't have any previous respiratory illness or admission in last 90 days. On examination, her general examination were normal. She was conscious and oriented well, afebrile, little bit tachycardic, tachypneic, and hypoxic. On auscultation, she was bilateral diffuse crackles and bronchial breathing. Rest all examination were normal. Our clinical diagnosis at that time thought was severe CAPE versus pulmonary edema because he is post CABG status, and last is pulmonary embolism. So we start quickly investigating that patient, admitted in our isolation room. Count was 12,000, little bit of neutrophilic, other all investigation were normal. NT-proBNP was slightly elevated. Screening echo in the ER shows normal ejection fraction, and chest X-ray was done. I am showing this chest X-ray. You can see the bilateral diffuse pneumonic consolidated patch on the X-ray. So our diagnosis was it's a severe community acquired pneumonia because patient was hypoxic, and you can tell as a SARI also. Because probable viral etiology, say we have sent immediately nasal and throat swab for COVID-19 and H1N1 after admission to dedicated ICU, isolation ICU. We initiated treatment with oseltamivir, antibiotics, combination of azithro and cefoperazone sulbactam. Oxygen was started, given supportive treatment, sugars was monitored, and then the report came. She was negative for COVID-19 but H1N1 positive. So this is a case where we are finding, we are all on behind the COVID-19, but still we are finding lots of patients of H1N1 positive pneumonia. So final diagnosis was H1N1 pneumonia leading to severe CAPE. So she improved with our treatment. Antibiotics were stopped after H1N1 report. We continued on oseltamivir. Slowly oxygen support were stopped. She kept in ICU, isolation ICU for 5 days, shifted and discharged in a stable state. She came to my follow 2 days before and see the X-ray. It's a remarkable improvement. So this is my end of the talk. I'll just suggest some learning points. All pneumonia patients should undergo COVID-19 testing in current era. Till results of COVID-19 available, isolate the patient. Please isolate that patient and follow strict isolation protocol, hand hygiene protocol, and PPEs as per various guidelines for management of even non-COVID pneumonia as well. And don't be panic in managing such a kind of patient. Inform nearby healthcare facilities. Notification is also very important. Thank you for listening, my dear friends. Thank you, listeners, for your kind attention. Thank you very much.